everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The County Seat. I'm your host, Chad Booth. We are privileged to have a one-on-one conversation scheduled for today with David Ure, who last time we talked had one set of reins in his hands and the other one being handed off from Kevin Carter as the director of the School Institutional Trust Lands. You've had the whole wagon team under your control now for a year and a half. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you very much.
We're going to take an opportunity to talk to David a little bit during the course of the show. I would like to ask you, what exactly is SITLA?
SITLA is called School Institutional Trust Lands. They are lands that were given to the school children or 11 other beneficiaries when the state joined the Union. And it's both under our state constitution and also under a document called the Enabling Clause that established the sections 2, 16, 32, and 36 out of every township will be under the jurisdiction of my trust board of trustees.
So is that kind of hard for people to grasp? Is that why you guys did this video?
Yes, it is.
Did you bring it?
I brought it with you.
All right, let's roll tape.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox. Unfortunately, very few people understand Utah's trust lands. They don't understand where they came from, why we have them, and why they're so important to our school children here in the state of Utah. The purpose of this video is to give you more information about why Utah's trust lands are so critical to the future of the state of Utah and our school children.
As states entered the Union, federal lands were appropriated to them to provide financial support for specific public institutions. In 1894, Congress allocated parcels of land called trust lands to the new state of Utah. Most trust land parcels were allocated by apportioning the state into townships, each 6 by 6 miles, and dividing each township into 36 one-square-mile sections. Utah was given sections 2, 16, 32, and 36 in each township, resulting in scattered land ownership throughout the state. In total, 1/9 of the state, or 7 million acres, was granted to Utah as trust lands, and Congress required these lands be used exclusively to support public institutions. Along with these land grants, Congress also established permanent endowments to help fund and support 12 state institutions, including public schools, state hospitals, Utah schools for the deaf and the blind, teaching colleges at state universities, and public buildings and state reservoirs. The largest beneficiary by far is Utah's public education system, which claims 96% of all trust lands. Nearly 100 years later, despite selling off nearly half of the original land grant in the first few decades following statehood, Utah had done little to grow these endowments. A concerned group of educators, legislators, and other stakeholders organized and advocated for an independent agency to manage the state's trust lands. In 1994, SITLA was established and took over management of 4.5 million acres of surface and mineral estate. SITLA developed a business model to maximize revenue from Utah's trust lands. In its first year, SITLA nearly doubled the Permanent Education Fund from $50 million to $94.5 million and helped grow all permanent funds to a combined balance well in excess of $2 billion today. SITLA generates revenue from oil, gas and mining leases, grazing, telecommunication sites, real estate development, renewable energy projects, land sales, and other commercial and industrial development. Entirely self-funded at no cost to taxpayers, SITLA takes a small portion of trust lands revenue for operations and deposits the remaining revenue balance into each institution's permanent fund. A separate agency, the School and Institutional Trust Fund Office, manages and invests these permanent endowments in a diversified portfolio intended to protect and grow each endowment. Proceeds from each permanent fund are distributed annually to each beneficiary, which uses it for its most pressing need. Utah Schools for the Deaf and the Blind might use their distributions to enhance student reading and technology programs, while the Utah State Hospital might opt to support patient therapy and education resources. And each public school in Utah receives annual funding from the Permanent School Fund. Every school has its own school community council made up of teachers, parents, and principals, which determines how to spend its discretionary funds, with the sole restriction that funds be spent on academic projects.
David, that was very good. I feel enlightened. We'll continue our discussion with David Ure from the School Institutional Trust Lands when we come back on the county seat. Got the questions ready.
There is a place where looking out means looking in, where an impression lasting only a few seconds will be imprinted on a life forever, where courage is forged and innocence rediscovered, where remembering is rewarding and forgetting unforgettable. There is a place where truth is felt and where seeing is believing. There is a place.
149 million years in the making, dinosaurs once roamed this land. Now they're found at the Dinosaur National Monument. Let's take you beyond the bones. We call it Dinosaur Land. You'll find it offers adventures and sights not seen anywhere else in the world. Come to Dinosaur Land, Vernal, Utah. You'll want to stay forever. The dinosaurs did.
The Utah Farm Bureau began as a collection of farmers supporting each other to raise the food we enjoy. Today, Farm Bureau membership encompasses everyone, whether ranchers, growers, or just everyday folks like you and me. Members enjoy discounts on items like vehicles and ATVs, or insurance that's very affordable. You don't have to be a farmer to join, and dues are small, but together we make a big difference in keeping our food supply local and abundant. Join Utah Farm Bureau.
Welcome back to the county seat. We're talking with David Ure, who is sometimes defined first a rancher and second the head of the School Institutional Trust Lands, also a county councilman or commissioner along the way.
Past, yeah.
So you've really actually kind of made that nice gradual change from a private rancher, haven't you?
It's pretty diverse, but ranching is still probably where my heart beats. And this is probably my second.
Has your ranching experience actually prepared you well to take on the job that you have?
Ranching teaches you, excuse the expression, you can't screw Mother Nature. And this job, so many times, is dealing with Mother Nature, with mining, timbering, grazing, ditch easements, water. It has, and I'm dealing with a tremendously good staff in the office. But they lack the agricultural background. And let me further emphasize, my staff is probably some of the best staff throughout all the entire state of Utah.
And that's interesting that you'd bring that up, because if you look at the checkerboard map where all the little blue squares are on a state map, they're pretty much a lot of them in what I would call an agricultural rural area. And only some of them have been aggregated into the mineralogical things. Like, you have a lot of land that is, I guess, what you'd call grazing type land.
It is, and 3.4 million acres actually is what we control.
So what distinguishes SITLA land from public land? Because I know in a lot of the conversations I have with people, they think you're just another form of public land, like state sovereign lands, like BLM, like Forest Service. How is SITLA different?
The public lands are owned by the taxpayers. Our lands are owned by 12 beneficiaries. 95% of it is the school children in the state of Utah. And we take the University of Utah, Utah State, mining hospital. Anyway, I can go on and on about those. But under the Constitution, under Supreme Court sayings, under opinions, we are private property. And they use the word likened to private property, meaning We're not exactly there. But when you put a trust on top of it, which we're created to be a trust, we cannot deviate, because the trust language and saying, you know, Mr. Brown, we can let you have your grazing permit for this price. We can let Joe Blow have it for this price. No, we have established policies, fees. They're all under public documents, but everyone is charged exactly the same. And we have to do it for the beneficiaries in the highest and best use. In other words, we can cancel any grazing lease in 30 days if we have an opportunity to build in a Smith's or a Hill Air Force Base on that ground. We don't like to do it, but our beneficiaries watch over our shoulder 2 or 3 times a week. We have people in our office going through our books and asking us questions. And I do not regret it, because it keeps me fine-tuned to the line that I have to push, pull, or roll over in order to make sure that the school children in the state of Utah have the money that is entitled to them through the actions that we perform.
The School Institutional Trust Lands Office used to be directly fall under the governor, I believe up until Governor Bangerter, wasn't it? Or somewhere right
Governor
about
Leavitt.
that. Governor Leavitt, okay.
Back in 1992, the present form of trust lands was passed through the legislature. And the reason it was passed because it was a pretty loose program, and there were some pretty good deals given out in the past. I believe that since we have entered the policy procedures that were in place since '92, I really do not know of anything close to a good old boy deal. It's been straight across the line, and everyone has had to toe the mark.
Isn't that evident by what the permanent trust fund looks like?
Absolutely.
What kind of growth has it had in that period of
We
time?
went from 50 million in about 1992 to 2.38 billion since that period of time. About 95% of it has been through the money we've raised, but the last little bit, we've also been able to have some people financially or professionally invest that money, and we're getting good returns on through the stock market and reinvestments that way too.
I hope your separation allows you to bonus the good work of some of your employees.
I do have that leeway, but it does not come out of the trust necessarily. We do not budget it. I do it through the appropriation process in the legislature, and I budget, probably $50,000 that I can use for bonuses for when people step up and really work hard.
We're going to take a quick break on the county seat. We're going to continue our conversation with David Ure from School Institutional Trust Lands. As long as I've been doing the show, I still learn new stuff every single week. We'll be right back.
There's a little place on a Utah map where I was raised, where my heart's at, where the sagebrush grows wild and high, and the stars come out at night. Oh, there ain't nothing like being raised in the basin with a Ute reservation, skiing starvation, that Duchesne County life.
The Layton Hills Mall offers more than just shopping. Bring the whole family and enjoy SeaQuest Interactive Aquarium to feed the fish and exotic birds, hold live reptiles, and even swim with the stingrays. Or pump up the action and visit Dartside, Utah's premier soft foam dart tag arena. And don't forget the Great Room Escape, where you can challenge your friends to solving mysteries inside themed rooms. So come and experience great fun at the Layton Hills Mall and visit playindavis.com for other great activities.
Too often we find ourselves in shoes like these, or these. Wouldn't it be nice to change into something more like this, or this? How about these? Put on whatever shoes you prefer and come to Beaver County. We have exactly the adventure you need to put under them. So the next time you want to change out of these, come to Beaver County, where you can jump into a pair of these. Beaver County, Utah. Lace up for adventure.
All local products have a story of magical places, real people, and delicious recipes spanning generations. So go ahead and discover flavors you've never tasted and friends you never knew you had. Utah's own Discover Local Food.
Welcome back to the county seat. We're talking with David Ure, who is the director of the School Institutional Trust Lands for the state of Utah. We have learned that the beneficiaries are the school children K through college level, I guess, basically, but the way it's set up.
Public schools, K through 12, and then each individual college, Utah State, University of Utah, are beneficiaries separate from that. They have their own placeholder as a beneficiary.
So they get their own separate payouts, basically, from the trust. Okay. I do want to talk about that, though, because, you know, when you have a permanent trust fund in the billions of dollars and you've got people investing it, you know, if I sit here and put a calculation to that number and think of what a savings account at Zions Bank gets, that's not a very big return. How much money do you annually give over to schools?
This last year we gave $69 million to the school children in the state of Utah. Now that's divided up on a per capita basis and also on a per building basis. Now I say per building, not per district. In other words, if Davis School District has 40 buildings, then each building receives a certain amount of money, and that's able to be spent by the principal, by 2 or 3 teachers, and by a community council made up of parents. And they determine each year, and I say each year, how that money is going to be spent. And they have a great amount of latitude, books, computers, filming studios, or whatever they want that they think is necessary for the needs of the kids that year.
So this is almost like one of those charities on TV that says none of our money goes to administrative costs. That money goes directly to the school. Bypasses the district, it bypasses the legislature. It's just extra money that goes right to where the rubber meets the road. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I just had a discussion last week with some pretty high people wanting to take that money and put it towards the WPU, the weighted pupil unit that the legislature passes each year. And I says, no, let's not do that, because the WPU, the acronym, we're a little low on that nationwide.
Right.
And to add that $69 million and add it to that WPU will not make a whole lot of difference, and it'll get lost in the administration. Let's keep that $69 million totally separate, so that every penny goes to benefiting a child or the children in that building. And it's totally outside their budget, and it fills in a lot of gaps within a building that might need. I know there was a wheelchair bought one year, and the kids took a lot of pride in that because that was part of their sacrifice towards that special needs child. So it builds a lot of camaraderie, it builds a lot of conversation that, call it forced or call it what you want to. But we all know that communication is one of the best things that keeps children active in the schools.
In your year and a half, have you found that the decisions that are made at that extremely local level, when it goes directly to parents, principals, and teachers, are probably better decisions than they'd be if they're district-wide or statewide programs?
I think that is the most efficient nickel spent in the school system. And I'll take on any legislator or any state school board member in the fact that those teachers and those parents, they squeeze that buffalo. For those of us old enough, to know that the buffalo was on the nickel.
You young people, for you it's a Monticello, okay? Same thing.
They spend it 3 or 4 times in their mind before they actually spend the penny. And that's what makes it so good. They know exactly where every dollar is going on in every building, and it is not wasted. It is the best dollar spent in the school system. Okay,
well, I guarantee you there are going to be a couple of legislators, there might be a couple of administrators somewhere who are going to send me email.
Bring them on.
Are you ready? I will forward them to you. I will
Bring them on.
I'll expect you to respond on that. Also, if there are any principals or teachers who want to add it, love the social conversation on our Facebook page or through our website. Okay, I do want to talk about the fact that all of your revenue that comes in is not just from those parcels. Talk to me about how you are acquiring new land.
We know about Bears Ears. We know about what they call the Utah Test and Training Range, right, of which we are helping the federal government protect the United States in enlarging the bombing range for the Hill Air Force Base. Right. We have the opportunity of exchanging out of some of those parcels within that bombing range and going elsewhere in the state of Utah. We can trade into maybe some oil country or more grazing country or even into some urban country. But here's our problem. The legislature, I believe 8 or 9 years ago, passed a law that's saying that SITLA cannot trade ground unless we have acre per acre. At the same time, with the federal government, we have to trade value for value. And then when we go into oil ground, that ground there might be 20,000, 30,000 acre. I mean, I'm just throwing numbers out.
Right.
Where the ground that we gave up was maybe only $500 an acre. So how do we satisfy the legislative law of acre per acre versus the federal law of value? We happen to have some property that has endangered species on it, and it's valued at a very high level for development. And so we're able to sometimes, not all the time, but we're sometimes able to take maybe 1,000 acres of that has a very high value on it and make up the difference with the BLM on the value and still maintain the acre for acre for our legislators.
Do you think if people understood this better that you might be able to get the legislature to go back and rethink that a little bit?
Yes, I do. And we're constantly talking to the legislature on this. It has not, because we have been so successful in the last 10 years, I think they're saying, go ahead and squirm a bit, make it work, because we get better deals all the time, and I'm willing to go there. But one of these days, we're not going to be able to do that. And we're going to have to come to the legislature on our knees and say, we can't make this fit. Please change the law, and if you want to come in and be part of the negotiations with us so that you know that we're not beating anybody up, we're not taking advantage, fine. We still have enough room to barely wiggle. But if we have many more exchanges, which we're working on them all the time,
you're going to run out of prime stuff to trade.
That's correct.
So I know that as painful as the state legislature can be at deliberation, you could usually get something done in a year or two, right?
With the legislature, yes.
What about Congress?
Our quickest exchange was 9 years.
Was that the bow tie arch or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
That recreational
Well, I need
trade?
to back up on that because the Utah Test and Training Range, I think we got it through in 4. But that was because Senator Hatch and our senators back at that time knew how important it was to Hill Air Force Base as far as the national defense is concerned. And they worked it very hard. We're still in the process right now of shuffling the papers back and forth and signing documents. But that was done in 4 years, which is really unheard of. Congressman Bishop worked very hard on that and did a very good job for us, but it's just time consuming. And true to the way Congress has been acting, and I'm saying that very bluntly.
It might be longer.
It might be longer. But when it comes to national defense, most of the time the D's and the R's will come to the table and try and do what's right. Probably some of our greatest challenges, though, are with the environmental community. And the fact is that they look at a blade of grass differently than I do, just to give you a kind of an example on that. And they threw a lot of things in, even in the UTTR exchange, that we had to work with because they had the ear of some of the people in Congress, and maybe we lacked 2 or 3 votes. You know, in the Senate you have to have 60 votes in order to even get it to a vote. Right. And that was some of the major problems we were facing on UTR. But we're going down the road. We're happy that it's been exchanged and that it's in the West Desert, and I think that will bring to us, over the next 30 or 40 or 50 years, several $1 billion. Excellent. And that's some of our goals.
Excellent. We're going to take a quick break here on the county seat. We'll continue with David Ure when we return for our wrap-up.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
ATV? Check. Four-wheel driving? Check. Bouldering? Check. Mountain biking? Check. Hiking? Check. River rafting? Check. Adventure is about more than just crossing activities off of a list, but hey, if you can find a place that gives you everything you're looking for, all the better. In Emery County, you'll find the San Rafael swell, trails, lakes, and the small-town hospitality you're looking for. San Rafael Country, in the heart of Utah. Visit us and check something off your list.
Look south to adventure. Look south to beauty. Look south to San Juan County. Out here, the road goes on forever, and what you'll find will change how you see the world. Climb on your OHV and discover forgotten landscapes and vistas that challenge the imagination. From Blanding and Monticello to the cliff faces of Monument Valley, we're open and ready for you to explore. San Juan County, Utah's Canyon Country.
Welcome back to the county seat. We're talking with David Ure. We don't have much time left in the show today, and it's gone by very quickly. I do want to ask you a question. 18 months at the helm, or roughly a year and a half. What have been your biggest surprises?
Probably two of them. Number one are the politics that I'm in every day, either with county commissioners, city councils, mayors, legislature, or the governor. Number two, it's surprising to how many people are very charitable and walk in the front door and say, hey, I have 80 acres down in Iron County. I'd like to donate these to you. And I believe that gross-wise, we will have brought in over $200,000 off that property, 3 different parcels that this person donated to us. Yes, it is tax deferent. They get a kickback on their taxes for inheritance or whatever it might be. But it just goes to show you what we can do in the state of Utah through donations to SITLA, and we'll make the best ground out of it we can. Now, we don't want any environmental issues on it. Sorry.
Right.
But this ground in Iron County, it's been fun to work with the county down there, to have vested rights on it, and donations are donations, and the money goes directly to the trust fund for investments. And so that's been fun. That was the surprise when that person walked in the door.
So what is your average return on investment for the trust fund, or pick a year? 5%, 6, 12?
7% is what we have averaged for the last 2 years.
So out of $200,000, they're going to get what, $18,000, $19,000, $20,000 to each year?
Per year.
Per year. Wow.
And that's fun too, because we don't spend the money. We put it in a trust, and so it's a trust that keeps on giving year after year after year. So that $200,000, like you said, $15,000, $18,000, $20,000 will go on until the stock market goes to heck, or maybe even goes up higher. Those are what's fun, and that's what makes that trust important.
Excellent. Are you enjoying this job? Is this better than you thought it would be overall?
It's more challenging than I thought it was. I have to be at my best every day because things walk through that door that just absolutely surprise me. But it's fun. I am not knocking it. I am having a lot of fun, and the challenges are just.
And I think emotionally this is good for you too.
I love the school kids.
Well, there you go. David, thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in every week on the County Seat. Let's continue this conversation on social media. Share with your friends. We'll see you next week on the County Seat.